Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Man, it has been a drastic change in weather in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, we broke a record, I believe. I think it was around 83, 84 for a high. Very warm. Beautiful sunny day, very, very windy day yesterday. Cold front moved in last night, and it's sitting about mid-20s right now with winds 25 to 30 and wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, so it makes it feel in the teens. Just a drastic change in weather. Still very, very dry around here, already causing problems, and have a lot of us that, you know, live out of our gardens and stuff a little nervous about the coming season. If it's this dry already, how's it going to be? We're hopeful of a wet spring because we're going to need it. It's pretty dry and it's been some crazy weather. Anyways, moving on to things that most people actually might care about. You know, myself and many others, and I know many of you too, probably all of you, have been saying that this illegal alien thing, open border crisis, is going to start hurting us one way or the other. And we're already seeing it. I mean, we've been seeing it for a while, I know. I'm not that naive, but it's becoming more of a real problem. There's multiple cases right now in the news, and there seems to have been this way for a while now. It's building more and more all the time of violent acts that have been taking place against Americans from people that have crossed the border illegally. There's several cases of atrocious things, lots of violent things that's happening, and it's getting worse, and we're going to continue seeing this. Towns are reporting that their populations have been increased by 5 and 10% over the last year or so because of the amount of illegals pouring in, and it's overwhelming their systems. Their police, their EMS, 911, fire, hospitals, schools, food supply chains, all of it. It's being overwhelmed, and they can't handle it because of a 5 or 10% increase in population nearly overnight. New York. Yeah, New York City, we've been hearing a lot about that. New York City has been a sanctuary city for a while, and now their mayor is saying that they don't want to be a sanctuary city anymore. They want to stop that. I mean, I know you and I are going to say, told you so. But the point is that they're saying their numbers, and I don't believe these numbers. They seem a little low, but we'll go with it. They're claiming that they've had over the last year or so about 200,000 illegals brought in or dropped off or show up or whatever in New York City. And it is absolutely overwhelming the city. And there's plenty, an ample amount of videos out there of just massive violent crime waves and sprees and you know, robbing and all kinds of other things where they're going through and just looting places and violent crimes. They're teaming up with gangs. They're forming their own gangs. There's all sorts of problems that's happening. And like I just said, we told you so. And yet nothing's being done about it. Nothing's going to get done about it, at least not for a while, maybe ever. And what are we left with? What are we left with? A huge problem. We're watching our country being destroyed from within. Yes, there are outsiders that's infiltrated this country, but it's happening from within. We're not seeing some, you know, invasion of a foreign military in a traditional style. We're seeing an invasion coming across our borders, being allowed to happen, and at least initially being welcomed with open arms. There's still a lot of people on the left that are supporting this. But more and more people are starting to wake up and realize that this is a problem. And even if it stopped today, there's enough already in this country to cause major disruptions. And I think, as I've said before, this may be the most important thing that's happening of our time, that we're watching the destruction of this country because of the massive migrant influx, that they're allowing them to cross the border, and you know, most of the news is just focused on the amount of people. Very little of it anymore is focused on how much of it is criminal element. And I'm not even talking about some type of terrorist foreign nationals that's here to do wrong. I'm talking about just plain old criminal. How many of them are child traffickers, gun traffickers, drug traffickers, that are bringing more and more crime across our border? We don't know. How many of them are coming here and just living off the system? Most of them, at least initially, most of them are living off the system. They're draining our system. We're already $34+ trillion in debt. The economy is in shambles. The job market is in shambles. There's every day nearly. There are companies announcing that they're making major cutbacks because they're cutting back on their business because the economy stinks. And so with businesses being cut back, employment being cut back, and having millions and millions pour into this country, there's less and less jobs. There's less money to go around because it's worth less. There's so many, I could sit here and talk for hours. The problems that's happening. And the fact is you already know this. You already get it. But nevertheless, it's happening. And we're watching our country be destroyed. It's been this way for a while now, of course. But it's really becoming more prominent in everyone's view. It's hard to miss. It's impossible to miss at this point. And unfortunately, I don't have a solution. I don't think anyone has a real solution, a solution that can really change things, really work. No one does. I don't know that there is a solution next to a complete mobilization of the entire United States government and military to take action against this. But for us, there's not much, if anything. And I know that sounds depressing. I know that sounds, well, old Travis is spreading the fear mongering again. He's out here spreading that fear. No, it's stating a fact, folks. I mean, maybe this is just more of me ranting and venting, but it's here. It's happening. It's everywhere. I've heard multiple reports over the last few months from small towns, small rural towns where they're far away from the big cities. They're towns that have little to no migrants in them, and all of a sudden they're seeing huge clusters of illegals showing up, and they don't know how to deal with them. They've never had this problem. It's not like New York, it's always been a migrant city, right? It's just that there's more of them, but there's always been migrants there. And you go to these small towns and they don't know how to handle it. They don't have multilingual police officers and multilingual doctors and school personnel and all this kind of stuff. They don't know how to deal with it because there's nothing in place. There's no assistance. There's no guidance. And what that does is it causes breakdowns in the system. So your little small community, your small town that functions mostly successfully for the most part has 20, 50, 100, 200 illegals stop off in your little community, and it causes major disruptions because there's no system in place to handle that. You can't just house them overnight and feed them and all this kind of shelter and everything else, and then all the drain on social services. This is being done for a purpose, folks. This is not an accident. It's not just an accident. I know none of you believe anything that Joe Biden says, but here lately some of his biggest lies is that he can't do this. He can't stop. He can't close the border. It's all Trump's fault. There's nothing he can do about it. And I'm not a pro-Trump, anti-Biden. I'm an anti-corruption. And I'll stand up for anyone that is doing the right thing, and I'll stand up against anyone that's doing the wrong thing. And I couldn't care less what political party they're with. But this one is just ridiculous. They want to see the destruction of this country. They want to bring us down to her knees. They want to potentially allow these people to vote. They want to put them in the military to replace them with the patriots that are being pushed out, so that when the time comes that they have to say, okay, now we have to turn on our own citizens, they'll have a military that will unquestionably obey them, because they don't have this American sentiment, this patriotic, pro-Constitution leaning. They're used to following warlords and dictators. That's where most of these people come from. And so they'll follow them too. It's planned destruction, folks. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And I don't want you to become depressed and to become filled with fear. I want you to take action with yourself, with your family, with the people around you, and get yourselves prepared. Because while the stuff that's going on in Russia and Ukraine and Europe and Middle East and Taiwan and China, those are important, and they will affect us when those things really start popping off big. They will. But this is affecting us in a whole different way, very directly, very critically, and growing, and there's no end in sight at this point. And we have to be ready for that. You need to be as self-sufficient as possible, because when the crimes get so bad out in the cities that it's too dangerous to go shopping, you need to be able to say, well, we can just live off of what we make and what we grow. Or, you know, there's not much with food anymore because it's dwindled down in the supply chains and such, you know, disarray, and food is too expensive because we're giving it all away, and it's too difficult to get this or that, or to go here or there. It's too dangerous to go out and about because there's gangs just running all over the place, filled with illegals. This is why we need to be able to do on our own. Take care of ourselves and take care of the friends and the family and the people that we know and trust around us. And it's gonna, we're pushing, it's becoming very tribal. And it's not necessarily that that's what I want. And that can be a good and a bad thing. You know, definitely there's a very bad aspect to tribalism. But it could be good too. And it's going to get to that point, to where there's going to be certain areas of the country you don't travel to, you don't live at. You move to other areas. And we're watching the face of this country completely change. And it's going to change forever. I don't see, even if the right person got into office, even if things really started to turn around and this whole Great Reset New World Order thing was defeated, I don't know that America can really come back from this, even if it stopped at this point. Because we're talking about millions and millions already that have come here, and thousands and thousands a day that are coming across. And I just don't see a way that we can turn it around now. I mean, it's possible to get better from this point, but restoring what we once were, I just don't see it at this point. And that is sad. And that is something that is worthy of our attention and getting ourselves ready for what's happening and what will come. Because it is going to come. It's already here. It may not be where you're at, may not be where I'm at, but it's here, and it's all over, and it's growing, and it's going to spread. It's going to spread to where it's just about everywhere. Where more and more of you watching this video right now are going to feel the very negative, dangerous effects of this. And we need to get ready. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.